How's everyone doing?
What's up?
All right, I got a question. Just if you guys could indulge me for a second. I've always wanted to do something. And I'm wondering if you guys can go kind of nuts after I say something and give me some energy. Okay? We're going to pretend like we just walked on stage, all right?
We're basically trying to feel like rock stars right now.
Come here, Colin. Okay, ready? So just pretend we just walked on stage. All right, ready? What's up, New York City? Woo!
Wow.
Okay.
Thanks for the warm welcome, everybody.
Just like the first time.
Yeah. Amazing.
Awesome. Well, again, like we mentioned last night, it's so cool to be here, specifically because this was right where we sat about 5 years ago and just really walked outside and we're like, we're going to commit to this. We want to be creators. And that was right in the middle of our journey. And it's been a long road. As you can see, 10 years of working together.
Yeah.
So.
And a little bit of a disclaimer. We have about 74 slides. So I promise we're going to move through them quickly, but I can't promise we remember what's on every slide. So you may get surprised at the same time that we do. So here we go.
Let's go to slide one.
Slide one.
You take it.
Okay, so this is January 2020. This is me and my girlfriend, Madeline, and both of us have packed up our lives in LA, and we're moving across the country back to New Jersey, where we're from. And I had been in LA for about 8 years at this point. And the reason that I'm moving across the country is because a month earlier, Samir said this to me. And that wasn't the first time he'd said that. I've said it a few times throughout our journey, but this time it was real.
There was a lot of challenging moments, right? Where we were staying up all night, editing something, working on random, odd job projects just to get by. And what was keeping us going was this dream of being creators, but it just felt like it wasn't happening. And on top of that, this is what our bank account looked like. So it was really no joke.
And we live in LA.
And we live in LA. And it was really challenging. So this is a screenshot from 2019 from our bank account. And we were trying everything we could. I mean, we were doing, again, production jobs, but trying to find ways to build into being full-time creators, but just really struggling to figure that out. All the way up until the point where, just like any other creator, or every creator, it's like a rite of passage to upload one of these videos, right? Kind of like an update video. And this was us being like, hey guys, we're done, to our 100 people watching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was like our grand finale.
Yeah, in case you're wondering, we're out of here. But no one was wondering.
Yeah.
We actually never uploaded this video.
Well, uploaded, but we never
published
on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of that was because we were really confused. There was a frustrating moment of we know we want to be creators. We know we feel like we have it in us, but something isn't clicking, and we don't want to give this up, and so we didn't.
Yeah, I think the thought was even if I'm going to move across the country, even if I'm going to get a job, Samir's going to get a job, we'll still make videos, but it doesn't have to be our business. And that reality did not happen. A lot changed in about 3 months. And that's what we're really going to dive into in this talk is what changed. Because today, this is what our company looks like. And it's all off the back of being creators and off of our own channel, Colin and Samir.
And I think what's even more interesting is not only there was a 3-month span where a lot changed and then a 2-year span. Again, a year ago, it was still just Colin and I, and now this is our team. And as you can see, a year ago on our channel even, it's almost like a heartbeat, right? It's all of a sudden, even in the last 6 months, what has changed? So it's we're constantly evolving and constantly learning, but there's some very specific things that we learned. We're gonna go all the way back to the beginning of our creative journey and almost anyone's creative journey, and they always start with these 2 words, right? What if? What if I did this? I'm curious, does anyone have a what if, maybe a dream or some, or even thinking back to how you started your content, Hassan, for you?
What if I put my face in all my content?
Right, what if you put your face in all your content? What if you host something? What if you build a channel around a comedy, right? And I think that's something that we see across YouTube constantly. It's where our journey started. It's where every creative idea starts. What if I made the world's largest bowl of cereal?
You can do that on YouTube.
The what ifs on YouTube get really crazy, right? What if I turned a penny into $1,000?
actually happened.
And it actually happened. For us, our what if was probably the most common in this room. I think everyone shares this what if. And you guys can show me by show of hands if you had this exact same what if when you graduated college. What if I made an online video network dedicated to the sport of lacrosse? Yeah, there we go. You got one person. Yeah.
How many of you grew up and played lacrosse even? We got 1, 2.
Okay.
Maybe. Okay.
Yeah, great.
So it was a bad idea. It was not a good idea.
But it was the idea. And when I
It was the idea.
But it was the idea. And I'll let the video, we're about to play a video, I'll let that speak for it, and then we'll talk a little bit more about how this idea came to life. But this was actually something that I couldn't let go. I wanted to make this happen.
In 2012, I had just graduated college, and I had this idea for a sports network. I started making videos and posting them to YouTube, and I called it the Lacrosse Network.
What's up, guys? It's Samir from the Lacrosse Network.
At the same time, Colin was making videos about lacrosse in Colorado. So I watched some of his videos, and 6 months later, I convinced him to move to Los Angeles.
It's Samir from the Lacrosse Network. I'm here with one of the newest members of Team TLN, Colin Rosenblum.
And this was the beginning of a long and unexpected journey. With Colin in Los Angeles, we started to build the network. We were doing live games,
Welcome to the Lacrosse Network. This is Samir Chaudhry.
highlights, news shows,
Breaking news in the college lacrosse world today.
documentaries, and giveaway shows,
Welcome to our first installment of Free Stuff Friday.
which was actually the first time that Colin and I were on camera together.
We hit 4,000 subscribers. We made SportsCenter top 10 plays. We hit 10,000 subscribers on the channel.
There were a lot of ups and downs, but we really loved making videos, so we just kept uploading. And after 2 years, we were sitting there trying to figure out how we were gonna make a living doing this.
So how do you make a living doing this? That was probably the most common question at this time. This one right here. So how are you making money? I lived at home with my parents. My dad is an entrepreneur, and he was like, how does this work? And I was like, I think how this works is we upload videos to this website, YouTube, and then they pay us. It's a really simple thing to do. And then we saw our first AdSense earning report, and it was 40 cents. And I was like, oh, that's not how this works.
Meanwhile, I had just moved across the country. And I was like, is this gonna work? Like, what is happening here?
And as you saw, there's a lot of transformation in that video. We skip over 2 years in that video of us getting together, having this idea, and actually committing to saying we're gonna upload a video every single day. And when you're talking about something like lacrosse, there's a lacrosse season where you can, and then you saw the other stuff, which is Colin and I in pilgrim outfits, talking about God knows what, but just trying to find ways to engage our community. And what was amazing was we were building an audience. There was a dedicated group of people who really loved what we were doing because it was people like us. We grew up both playing lacrosse and feeling like there was no home for it. There was no community. And with the internet, that just opened the doors to find people who are like-minded, find people like you. But still, as recent college grads, 2 years of doing odd jobs to try and figure out how to make money. I mean, there was even a point where someone called us and said, you guys seem creative, do you guys make stickers? And we were like, yeah.
Yes.
We're a sticker company. And so we started making stickers for people.
Another guy was like, do you build websites? We're like, uh-huh.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. And so we just did these projects to get the bank account with enough money to travel to a lacrosse game and film and bring content to the community that we were a part of and that we loved. But after 2 years, at some point, you have to actually look at it and say, I think probably we need to make money now. We need to figure that out. And so I got in touch through my brother with a venture capitalist. And he grew up playing lacrosse, so I was like, oh wow, he also worked in sports entertainment in his past life. And I was like, this is for sure, he's gonna give us a bunch of money. And I don't know why I did this, but I remember this very well. The day I had a phone call with him, I put on a suit. I'm very confused about what this whole interaction was supposed to be. But we're gonna reenact that conversation right now. Colin's gonna play the big scary money man, and I'll play Samir from 8 years ago. Okay, ready?
Yep. Hello.
Yeah, hey, it's Samir.
Hi, it's big scary money man.
Oh, okay, yeah, great. I wanna pitch you what I've been doing with this lacrosse network. So we started this online network, and we've been broadcasting live lacrosse games.
I'm going to stop you right there.
Okay.
So you just used the term broadcast. I checked out the link you sent me. What you're doing is not broadcast. What you're doing is making home movies. And if I can be honest with you, you're not that good at it. If I were you, I'd find something else to do. Goodbye.
That was a real conversation, and we've told this story so many times, and I've recounted the story so many times that Colin actually remembers that word for word, which is pretty amazing. But that was a real thing that someone said to me. You're making home videos. And I remember hanging up the phone and being really confused. And as a creator, I think we can all recognize that, especially doing something that other people don't do, finding validation is incredibly challenging. And sometimes you look for that validation in other people, sometimes you look for it in your viewership or your subscribers, sometimes you look for it in the money that you're generating. And I felt incredibly validated by the community we were building and the audience. But the other factors I couldn't figure out. And in this moment, what I recognized was that we were doing something new and that people were not going to understand it. And that was the reality. And so this statement actually hangs up in our office right now just to remind us to always do something new, something that people don't understand. And so I think all of you as creators recognize that. But that also means that you have to really understand exactly what you're doing. And as a business, what is your product?
Yeah, and I think what that phone call showed us was that, as much as that guy actually played lacrosse growing up, he was not a member of our community. Like, he truly did not he didn't understand what it actually meant to watch our videos, to be in the comments, and to connect with lacrosse players, because up until we made the Lacrosse Network, it just wasn't really a thing. Like, it was still early, it was 2012, there was no place for that. And then, if you go to the next slide, that was a lesson for us very early on in our journey that, our product is not necessarily videos, our product is community. Like, our job with everything we put out is to look at it within that lens of, does this allow the members of our community to communicate with each other? And I was actually just talking with Kelsey this morning. So Kelsey, if you don't know, she's a Twitch streamer who streams she streams vintage games like N64 and Nintendo, speedruns. And she has a Discord with over 1,000 people in it. And they're all interacting with each other based off of like what she's creating. And even within the Discord, if they want to go live, their avatar shows that they're live, and then they can watch each other's streams. And so I think like even today, that's a perfect example of what you're doing is allowing other people to connect and to have conversation.
And I think that's incredibly important. Recognize your content is a bridge for conversation. Someone might watch a piece of your content and then press share and share it with a friend, and that actually just opened up a line of dialogue or made someone laugh or made someone cry or connected two people who haven't connected in a while. Like, your content is a bridge. That is the goal. It's not necessarily the videos, but it's this experience of having a community, right? People around you who are like-minded, who really care. And so again, like, we started to recognize over time that it wasn't necessarily the videos, but it was the community that we were building that mattered. And just to, again, reinstate how long ago this was, we wanted to show you what YouTube looked like back then. This is us. I think we took a screenshot because we had 1,300 subscribers and we were just so excited.
We were like, can we just put as many logos as possible?
Yeah. This is a time where we started to grow a little bit more, and we had 9 people watching live.
But look at the chat.
Yeah, chat was going off. And this is us as we grew into 15,000 subscribers. And to give you a frame of reference, those were all the live games that we were doing up there. So it was a completely different time in YouTube. And what was amazing was it was the community that was starting to build. There was people who were tuning in every single day. There was people who were coming together. And although Big Scary Money Man didn't understand what I was doing, our community did. And then something pretty amazing happened. And as we were looking and looking for validation and finding other people who thought that what we were doing had value, there was a group of people who believed that, and our company got acquired. And it was an incredible moment where we were unbelievably validated as creators, and we actually got to go do this as a job.
Yeah, this wasn't like a cash out and go to Cabo type of thing, like by any means. This was really like...
Although I think I did go to Cancun.
Okay, Samir went to Cancun.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Great. But in reality, it was just basically someone saying to us, like, okay, do you really like what you've been doing for the past 2.5 years? Because if you really like it, here's an opportunity to do it for maybe the next 4 or 5 years. Like, we will give you that stability, we'll give you a job, and you can go do this.
I think that's a really important note for everyone to recognize, like, whatever you're doing right now, make sure you really love it, because if it works, you just get the opportunity to do more of that, right? Like, people are gonna give you more opportunities to do that exact thing that you want to do.
So be careful of what ideas you pitch. I was thinking about this today because I found out that Enrique was the one in the astronaut costume, and it was his idea.
Yeah.
And so he loved the idea, and then they're like, great, Enrique, just go get in the astronaut costume. And so I think you gotta be careful with what you ask for, because it could happen.
So for the next couple of years, we worked at this company. It was amazing. We had stable jobs, salary, benefits. We got to work with creators. We worked with creators of all types. We worked with athletes. We worked with brands. We brought them onto YouTube, and we got to become these, creator evangelists. We got to create a lot of content, and all the while we're still on camera building our own network. So we really got this crash course in how the business worked. And after about 3 years, we started to realize something that was really interesting for us, and I think maybe something that people can connect with as well. There's a big difference between independence and freedom. And what we had at the company was independence. We had a lot of autonomy. We got to just create, we got jobs, we loved to do it, and we were really stable. And there was something inside of us that felt like we wanted freedom. We wanted the freedom to make whatever we wanted. We didn't really know exactly what that meant, but we just felt it. We just felt like we wanted complete freedom.
And this is around 2015, 2016, when what it meant to be a creator was starting to drastically change. You're starting to see people filming their lives, making the mundane interesting and capturing millions and millions of views, and building careers off of just telling stories about themselves. And Samir and I felt like, all right, like we built a similar skill set, but we're just telling stories about lacrosse. So what if we just told stories about ourselves?
And the big what if.
Another what if.
Yeah, big what if at this moment is we went out to dinner one night and we said, well, what if we were Colin and Samir?
And we are Colin and Samir.
That might feel confusing, because we are Colin and Samir, but we weren't Colin and Samir.
But what if we were like Colin and Samir, like a thing?
I mean, we were creating content, with a brand, content that just wasn't necessarily about us. And we were kind of interested in telling our thoughts and more stuff about our life, and not just being specific to sports or in the niche that we had created. So in 2016, we started this channel. And we were like, you know what? We're going to do this. And not only did we start this channel, we quit our jobs, which was incredibly, I think you're lucky enough to be naive enough at a young age a couple times. That was serious naivete. And I remember my dad and people around me being like, why do you need to quit? Aren't you making YouTube videos full time? There was probably many ways around it, but we just felt this moment where we wanted to experience something that I think a lot of creatives experience, and there's this cycle of creativity where it's like this jump, right? You have this idea and you're like, let's just do it. Let's just start a Colin and Samir channel. That's the thing. So you take this jump, and then after you jump, you have all this energy, and there's this creative high, right? And you're just like, let's just make stuff. Let's make whatever. So we started making all types of things. So I'll show you right now. You just saw the jump. I'll show you what the creative high looked like. We started making all kinds of stuff. This is a video about our favorite place in Los Angeles. Colin, what's this?
Okay, so this is a show called What's Good. It was about good news, and it was basically where we would just pull the best cat memes and just curate them for an audience. And I think our audience was very confused.
Yeah.
Why am I here for this? So that show lasted 3 episodes.
Yep, and then right after that, we started a skateboard company and started telling stories about making skateboards.
And still to this day, people come up to us and they're like, you're the skateboard guys.
Yeah, we got a skateboard fan in here.
Yeah,
skateboard guy.
And that didn't last that long.
So then we were like, wow, maybe we don't make skateboards. Maybe we're actually gonna make a documentary.
We're filmmakers.
Let's make a documentary. So then we started searching for a doc story.
It's kind of that time in your life where you're like telling your parents, you've told your parents too many times different things you're gonna do. And then you get home and they're like, wait, aren't you gonna sell skateboards? And you're like, no, that was 2 weeks ago, Mom. And like, we were doing that as a career.
So you experience this jump, this creative high where you're just making all this stuff and being like, hey, what if we did this? What if we did that? We just start creating and creating and creating.
Meanwhile, too, like both cylinders are firing because we're still doing freelance work to pay for this to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're creating videos as our job, and then we're, for fun, in the evenings, creating videos. And that leads to 3 years that look like this.
So on the left here, this is Samir in a hotel in Portland at like 4:30 in the morning because we were overly ambitious with our upload schedule when we first launched. I think we said we were going to do videos Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and that's totally insane. And so this is him. We're just finishing up an edit, and 3 years later, that's me at a real low after one of our projects. We had to make an episode of television, which we'd never really done before. It was a grueling process, and I was just exhausted. We were completely burnt out. And I think what we realized, the lesson we learned here, is that burnout is creative output without direction. So we had spent like 3.5, 4 years just putting tons of output into the world, and all the while confused about our direction. And I think we've realized that whenever we have felt confused about where we want to go, that's when output feels that much more grueling. Like anytime you have to make a video, anytime you have to do work, it's so much tougher to do if you don't believe in where it's going to take you.
So that brings us to some of the really important lessons that we've learned, especially in the past 6 months. Let me try and get this. Will you click me?
I got you.
There we go. All right. So we've figured out, at least for our career, there's 4 creator must-haves to avoid that, to avoid everything that you just learned about the ups and downs of that career. If you're like, ooh, man, I don't want to do what those guys did, we can help you. And that's a huge part of this weekend, is learning from each other. We want to share this with you. We want to hear from you guys as we go out throughout the day. But the first one that we thought that we learned that was incredibly clear, did that go? No. Audience definition. That was the most important. When you think back to what 10 years ago we started with a hyper niche audience, the Lacrosse Network. And the Lacrosse audience we fully understood because we were part of that community. As we started making other stuff, you saw during our creative high, we're just making all types of things and the audience was not defined. That made it really hard to actually get any traction because we didn't know who we were serving.
Yeah, we were trying to speak to everyone and in turn speaking to absolutely no one.
So define your audience first. And as we started to pick up traction on the Colin and Samir channel, what we did was not only think about like a big, broad audience, but actually made it as small as possible. So one of the first videos that got us some opportunities was we made a video about a tech company here in New York City, and decided to give them feedback. And what we thought in our head was, this is an office full of people. If they watch this video, that's cool. It's like 20 people. So we hyper-defined this audience down to 20 people. We made it, and then they invited us to their office. And we were like, oh, that's cool. That's interesting. Made a video. More people watched it because it was so defined, and then they invited us to their office. So we were like, all right, well, we want to meet some creators here in LA, and let's see if we can make a video about them and see what happens. And then we met them. And we were like, wait, this is working. We're really hyper-defining our audience. How big can we go with this? How crazy can we go? We maybe got a little bit of big heads, and we were like, what if we made a video about Will Smith?
Let's do it.
Is that nuts? This is working. Could it happen? And I kid you not, in an hour, we got an email from his team, and then 2 months later, we did a production with him. And it was insane. But we hyper-defined the audience down to one person. And we call that an audience of one. So as you're starting to think about, who are you creating for? Imagine that one person you're creating for. And you might meet Will Smith, no guarantees, but you might. So we got really specific on the Colin and Samir channel and said, we make content for creators. That's the community that we're a part of, the same way that 10 years ago we were part of the lacrosse community and wanted to serve them. We were creators, and we felt really lost for a lot of our content creation journey and wanted to build a community of creators. So we got really niche with our content.
YouTube is changing. Article 13 explained.
That's an incredibly niche video.
Incredibly niche.
Unbelievably niche, yeah. That's all. We'll just say
That's
that.
it. I'm just saying. Article 13. What is it? Does anyone remember it?
So audience definition. We realized we want to talk to creators. Got it. So what's the next thing?
Next thing was value prop. So how do we want to make them feel? And as we looked at our videos, we did this exercise, which is called identities and emotions. And the goal here is when you think about your videos, on the left side, you can write who you're trying to reach. So for us, we started to understand that it's creators. And on the right side, the emotion we want to make them feel with every video is educated, empowered, less alone. And I think the third one was really important because when we were building the lacrosse network, we felt super alone, super confused. There was no one to speak with. Like, our parents truly didn't understand, and we thought if we can make everyone who's embarking on this career understand that other people are doing it, it may not look the same way that you're doing it, but there are some similarities to the emotions that they're feeling.
And what's amazing is if you do this exercise, your content lies right in the middle. That red arrow is actually your content. Because again, like we mentioned, your content is a bridge. So how do you make creators feel educated? That's our content. The content's right in the middle, but the product is actually the community that gathers around these emotions. So defining your value prop is an incredibly important step in the journey. So now you define your value prop.
Still two missing.
Still two missing. You clicking or am I clicking?
I'm going to click this one.
Okay, you click. So you might be asking, but wait a second, guys. You're giving me all this advice, but in 2019, this was your bank statement. And actually, furthermore, in 2020, this was our YouTube revenue. So you're like, wait a second, what is happening? And then you guys also said you were getting jobs. So what happened to that? Because that was pretty recent.
And this is, again, because when we set out and we left our jobs, the goal was, let's be Colin and Samir. Let's have that be something that can provide for us and we can build a career off of. And we were still grinding out tons of freelance projects and still not making that much money.
So we had our audience and we had our value prop. And that is really interesting because that kind of comes back to that concept of what if, right? We said, what if we could build a hub for creators? What if we could actually connect more with creators? And that started to happen, like we mentioned. But it happened in this really interesting way where when we were putting out stuff, we got this email. And it said, we've heard great things in the creator community. We were like, wait, that's awesome. We're trying to empower and educate creators. It looks like there's other people in the space who also want to do that. And maybe they'll actually enable us to be Colin and Samir, to do something like this. And that email led us to being on stage at Unpacked in 2020 with Samsung, announcing one of the new devices. And just to be as an honest part of our story, becoming a part of Team Galaxy and a part of Samsung's world was actually what tipped us over the edge of becoming full-time creators.
I mean, more specifically, like, I moved home in January of 2020, and that email had kind of just come through while I'm basically driving home. And so I get home, I tell everyone, like, I'm home, I'm back. And then we have this opportunity with Samsung in San Francisco, and I'm flying back and forth. I'm not sure if I'm really home or not. And then we ended up, after doing this event, becoming a part of Team Galaxy. And that really gave us the footing for the first time to be like, oh, okay, like, you really want to do this. Here's your opportunity again to do this. And so I moved back out to Los Angeles like a month later.
And to be clear, why we're saying this is because our audience and our value prop was defined, we were attracting the right partners, right? Like we mentioned, whatever you're putting out, whatever you're investing in right now, that's what you get the opportunity to do more of. So this was our opportunity to do more of that. So we had our audience, we had our value prop, and that led us to having the support of the industry, right? Now, all of a sudden, people who wanted to do that same thing, people who are aligned with that same mission of educating and empowering creators wanted to work with us. So that's how all of a sudden, not only Samsung, but we started to build a base of sponsors, right? And people who were along for this mission that we were putting out into the world. But there was still something missing.
Yeah, and I want to add too that industry support, not every creator has to have industry support. It can be community support.
Right.
Like, there are a lot of creators that, off of their Discord, off of their merch sales, off of subscription platforms like Patreon, they're providing for themselves and building a long-term business.
Yeah, so that's just like, how are you going to be supported? Who's going to support you? Who believes in that audience and that value prop? But there was one thing missing, and that is one of the most important things, which is process. So we knew the audience, we knew the value prop, we knew how we wanted creators to feel, but we actually still couldn't figure out how to deliver that to them. We were trying to figure it out, and we would make a video, and it would do really well, and then we would sit together and be like, how did we make that video? And try and reverse engineer that. Does anyone else have that?
I don't want to make that video again. That was a pain to make. Like, that was the worst.
You just couldn't figure it out. Like, how do we actually deliver this to our community, right? And the reality is that process creates sustainability. If you want this to be a long career, you have to be consistent. Sustainability creates consistency. So you actually have to develop a process. And the thing is, like, as we mentioned, if community is your product, consistent content over time builds community. That's how your community gets built. So instead of starting to, we were making these like video essays that took us a long time to make, these almost documentary style. So we put out one a month, and we were like, we just can't be that consistent like this. It just can't work. So we decided to downshift and rearrange and figure out what did work, what process did work for us, and that is the talk show that we have today. This is the Colin and Samir show. So we started to realize not only can we talk about our experience, but we can actually have creators on the show talk about their experiences too. And that allowed us to have a diverse set of creators to talk to, share their roadmaps, and recognize that in order to educate and empower creators, we want to hear stories from creators. We want to talk to the creators. We want to share our own stories. And then even to take that a step further, we release one talk show every Monday. The Colin and Samir show comes out on the channel every Monday. And more recently, we've actually started to invest in YouTube Shorts and said, how else can we deliver to this audience that value prop? And that's been one of the most, that's something that's really helped us with our audience development, our audience growth, and actually just helped us deliver that value prop. That's been huge for us. And what you need to do that was amazing, was creating a video took us a really long time. What was really liberating about Shorts is we could just pull out our phone and just make a short and then post it that day and just see what happens. You start to realize like consistency is not only about putting stuff out to the audience, but it's also you as a creator. You need to develop consistency and figure out your reps and find your tone and find your voice. And that's really helped us figure out, like these are all shot straight from our phone, right? Just the phone that's in your pocket, you can actually just pull out and make a short, and it's pretty amazing.
And specific to short form content and on YouTube, even more specifically, as a quick aside, like for us, this video, 10-Year-Old Millionaire, was us saying, maybe we should make a video about YouTube Kids. We're like, all right, let's test it with a short first. And the short did really well, and then we decided to do a long form video. So it's just amazing, as you all know, that like the barrier to entry is so low.
Yeah.
But I think that specifically, if you are on YouTube and you're trying to sometimes you get lost in trying to figure things out and with the data, like this for us has been incredibly helpful of let's just test an idea that takes 10, 15 minutes to make.
Yeah, and that also gives us the opportunity to develop hey, maybe this idea would work. So It's awesome. It just lowers the barrier to entry, increases your consistency, builds your process, just start to get those reps as a creative. What do I like? And that led us to developing this audience that we have today and recognizing that actually we can split up those identities of creators into deeper categories. So we have career creators who watch the show. We have aspiring creators who watch the show and people in the creator industry who watch the show. And these signals of validation and just recognition for us make us realize the audience that we are talking to and make us just kind of recognize that we are speaking to that niche audience. That's who we want to talk to. We're a part of that community. That's who we want to provide value to. So that's what led us into these four. And that's what led us here on this stage today and across these 10 years. What we recognize is developing any type of product, whether it's your creativity, your videos, even if you're launching a merch brand or whatever you're doing as a creator, go through these things. Say, who's the audience? Who do I want to receive this? What's the value prop? Why? Why are they engaging with this content? What's the value to them? They're investing time in it. What are they getting in return? Process. How am I delivering this on a regular basis? Not only to develop consistency, but also to make sure you can have a sustainable career. We both believe we can do this talk show for, 20, 30 years. We're super comfortable in this format. And that's really important. Recognize if you can do it as a sustainable career.
I think the confusing thing about being a creator too is that these don't come in order. So there can be times where you get an early viral hit and you've found an audience for a period of time, an advertiser, industry support can come in for a period of time, and then they can go away. But if you focus on those top two first, on finding those and sticking to those, I think that puts you in a much better place to have industry support come more naturally in a way that will be more long-term for you. Because even us, early stages, we were doing one-off brand partnerships, one-off brand deals. It's so hard to plan your life around a deal that may come in February but is not going to be there in April. So that's a really important part of it.
So with this in mind and with everyone in this room being creative and creators, the one thing we did want to urge is that this whole journey for us started with those two words, what if, right? And sometimes it's a crazy what if, but the only way to solve if you can figure that out is to publish your work. Press publish. Literally, if you think of an idea, just make it and put it out. And these are some of the most powerful buttons on the internet. They literally can launch your career. They can help you find yourself. They can help you find your voice. They can bring a dream to life. And that's what it's been like for us. And so I just want to encourage all of you to think about your what ifs and your craziest ones and share them with each other and just be like, what if I did that? Well, let's try it. Get some help from someone, get feedback, really understand each other as creators and share your craziest what if. Now, we do want to talk about sharing your work. And I'll let Colin talk about this.
Oh,
I already
think
clicked.
all right, it's staying.
Yeah, it's staying.
Yeah, so something Samir and I have encouraged with our community a lot. We had something called Weekend Film Fest. And
Wait, where's Evie?
Evie. So Evie is actually here not because she won Weekend Film
But we say that.
We say that.
Yeah.
But I mean, this was years ago, it was 3 years ago. And it was a project where we would ask people, we would give out a prompt every Friday for like a 60-second video that you could make. And by giving you those constraints, it helps you sort of at least try and press publish and then learn from there. And we would ask people to send the videos to us on Twitter and tag us, and then we would kind of all get to review them, and we would look at a hashtag. It was called Weekend Film Fest, so the hashtag was Weekend Film Fest, and everyone could sort of like click on it after the weekend and start to watch all of these videos from different creators from all over the world and give feedback. And so that was something we kind of wanted to bring to this weekend and issue a challenge for while you're here to make a 30 to 60-second video just introducing yourself and as a creator and sort of going down that checklist a little bit of like, this is who I am, this is who I speak to. Don't want to put too many constraints around it, but I just think it's a fun way to use your devices and also make sure everyone sort of gets to know who you are while we're here. So
Yeah, think about a unique way to introduce yourself. You know, like what are things that you like? What are the type of content that you make? And the thing that's really fun about something like this is that we are gonna watch all the videos. So even if you're like, wait, do I have an audience for this? Like you definitely do. The people in this room will watch each other's work, and that's one of the coolest things. So we do encourage you guys, introduce yourself, 30 to 60 seconds, tag us on Twitter, put the hashtag, and we'll be able to check it out. We'll watch it, and tell us something interesting about yourself, about what you make, where you're from, something that maybe you've never told anyone, but you decide to tell the internet. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Yeah, appreciate it.